Spring is in the air, with warmer weather, longer days, and the smell of fresh cut grass on the baseball field, which also means the start of baseball season. However, the American pastime has become more popular in Korea and the Dominican Republic than it is here in the US. But it wasn't that long ago that baseball was indeed America's most popular game, and video games reflected that. The NES had over 20 baseball games released for it, and while other sports had a clear winner of best game in their genre, the original gray box produced several baseball games that became people's favorites. Usually you will hear about Bases Loaded, Baseball Stars, or RBI as the baseball game of choice, and I enjoyed all three franchises. You may also hear about Bad News Baseball, but I couldn't get over having a concussion every time I was thrown out. But there is another baseball game that gets overlooked often, and I'm not sure why. What if you can have the depth of Baseball Stars, the control of RBI, and the grind of Bases Loaded, with some extra features that would inspire games like NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, and Hit the Ice? Let me introduce you to Baseball Simulator 1000. Baseball Simulator 1000 looks like your typical baseball game on the surface, and it seems like it can't compete with those other games. It doesn't have the voice samples like Bases Loaded.
Strike.
The players are smaller than Baseball Stars, and you didn't have real players like RBI, but the game had quite a few things going for it. The developer was Culture Brain, who developed another hidden NES gem. But we'll get to that in another video. You could customize any team to your liking, and the create a team and edit player features could have you lost down a rabbit hole for hours. I decided to create a superstar center fielder, and with that kind of speed and power, he is unstoppable. However, everyone else on the team now has a batting average of 150, so it's not exactly a balanced lineup. You could customize this any way you wanted, which added a lot of depth already for people who will be looking to spend a lot of time with this game. You could customize the season length too. You could have a season as short as 5 games, 30, 60, or a full 165 game schedule. It kept stats and even had a magic number for how many games your team needed to clinch the pennant. They also had different fields too, which were hit and miss. You had a dome field, a town field, grass field, or ground stadium, which I guess is just a softball field, but whatever. The most fun was playing at Harbor Field and in outer space. Yeah, that's right. You could play in outer space. And it wasn't just for show either. The baseball fields, for example, in outer space had less gravity, so there was more chances to hit home runs. The Harbor Field allowed you to splash balls into the water like you were Barry Bonds in the early 2000s hitting into McCovey Cove. But the ace of Baseball Simulator 1000 sleeve was playing a season in the Ultra League. Oh yes, the Ultra League. This is what made me fall in love with this game. The players have crazy power-ups and attributes, and there were power-ups for everything. You had power-ups for batting, power-ups for pitching, and even power-ups for fielding. So if you want to hit a ball like a missile that pushes anyone foolish enough to try to catch it into a wall, yeah, we'll put that in the game. Want to throw a ball and stop it in mid-pitch? Sure, why not? Want to have a super high jumping ability to rob a home run? Baseball Simulator has you covered with that too. Let's go through some of these superpowers. If you were batting, they had a hyper hit, which hit the ball with twice the power, meteor hit, which I always called the bomb ball, because if you tried to catch it, it blew up. The shadow hit that cast many shadows and honestly was pretty useless. The missile hit, like I just mentioned, which was always fun. The actual bomb hit, which I dubbed the smoke ball. The tremor hit, which causes an earthquake. Why it's represented by the Chicago Bears mascot, I'll never know. The cannon hit that spins around in the air and suddenly drops. The freak hit, or the zigzag. And finally, the spinner hit that makes it impossible to grab. Your hitter could also have a random power-up too, which means it could be any one of them. Pitchers also had a bunch of pitches to choose from to even out the playing field. They had the snake ball that moved from side to side, the stopper ball, which was my personal favorite, The fan ball, which was supposed to fan out, but honestly, I never understood why the logo was what looked like to be a dead duck with a halo. Tell me it doesn't. The speeder ball, which can change speeds after it's thrown. The fireball that actually turns to fire, and a phantom ball that disappears before hitting the plate. The photon ball was the fastest ball that could be thrown, and the iron ball moved really slow and can only be hit if you hit it dead center. You also had the ninja ball too, but that was just as pointless as the shadow hit. With all that being said, the fielders had some power-ups as well, such as the rocket jump, hyper throw, super slide, and supercharger, which was basically a run boost. Those were a little harder to master, but basically this game gave you a lot of options to make the game of baseball so much more interesting and enjoyable. Now, there are some downsides to this game. One being that, yeah, they aren't real teams and they're not real players. When you customize a player name, you can only use 4 letters. But the biggest, most annoying, idiotic thing with this game, being called Baseball Simulator 1000, was simulating the games. You would think simulating a game would be really easy, right? But good God, did it take a long time. And I mean between 5 to 10 minutes per game. Not to mention, this game had a 10-run mercy rule. So there are times where it would be faster to play a game against 2 teams that you didn't care about than it would be to simulate the game. I don't understand why they couldn't do it like Tecmo Super Bowl did. And to put it in perspective, we were able to simulate close to a whole NFL season in the time it took to get done one simulated game in Baseball Simulator 1000. With a game having simulator in its name, it had to be better than that. And it's probably its biggest downfall. However, the fun in any game is playing it. And whether you're playing a single game, a full season, or having a few friends over to go through a league, Baseball Simulator 1000 was a blast to play in the 90s and is a must for any Nintendo collector who enjoys interesting sports games. They did make a sequel for the Super NES, but for some reason it seemed like it was missing the charm that the original had. And there are a few ROM hacks out there to try to update the game, which I haven't had a chance to play, but looking on YouTube, looks like it could be a little fun. However, nothing is like the original cart. The batteries, for some reason in these games, still seem to work pretty well, and it's really inexpensive to get. With a cart you could find for $10 or even less than that. If you love baseball games, it's definitely worth checking out to play a game or two. This is Chic reminding you to add some styles to your retro. And you can't get more style than superpowers on the baseball diamond. Don't forget to treat yourself right and have an awesome week.